From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
My name is Pete Nelson. I'm the Director of Research and Innovation for ServeMinnesota, and we're very thankful and happy to be here today to talk a little bit about Reading Corps. So at its heart, Reading Corps is a tutoring program designed to increase the number of students who are reading proficiently by third grade. And I think as everyone here knows, that outcome is particularly important, not just for what it is, but for what it represents in terms of students' academic trajectory and their career trajectory, but also knowing that the benefits to individuals who are reading early, developing those skills early, extend to society as well. So as the name suggests, Reading Corps is fueled by AmeriCorps, and I want to put my researcher cap on just for a second to highlight how exciting that is. As essentially, there's all this research that's happening at academic institutions that might be compiled in best practice guides and be published in peer-reviewed journals. And by and large, all this information is not translating very well to practice, taking a very long time. And then you have all these folks who are highly passionate about reading, that are passionate about service. And wouldn't it be great if we could marry the two? And this is the opportunity that AmeriCorps affords us. And at ServeMinnesota, it's something that we really take to heart. We think about AmeriCorps as an opportunity to reach our communities, but do it in a way that helps bridge the gap between research and practice. So, I'll just say in the context of reading, what this looks like is that our tutors, what they're doing in the schools is all directly connected to empirical research. They're using data every day to make decisions, and there are structures in place to ensure that what's happening in practice aligns with how we talk about the program. So the program spans from pre-K to third grade, and the only difference between the two, so in K3, they're full-time AmeriCorps members working in the school, and they're doing pull-out intervention, so each kid gets 20 minutes a day, every day, of targeted reading intervention. In pre-K, that's happening, but the members also pushing into the core instruction environment. So they're partnering with the preschool teacher to deliver whole class literacy intervention, as well as just engage in a number of different activities to increase the quality of the instructional environment. So I mentioned implementation integrity. Another thing that's a little unique about Reading Corps is that we have an internal coach first, and that person is there to really help the member feel like they're a part of the school community. Because we know that members who feel like they are a part of the school community are going to have a more meaningful experience in their service year, that they're going to be happier, and that they're going to be more impactful. This is something that we've seen sort of borne out through data as well. And then we also have master coaches who serve as content experts. So they serve as consultants to internal coaches and also to the tutors as well. So does this program work? In a word, yes, it does. So these are just some data from a recent evaluation done by NORC at the University of Chicago, and this is pre-K. In the gold bars, you're looking at performance of kids who receive Reading Corps support, and in the gray bars, those are comparison students, so equivalent type students. And you can see, across these pre-K outcomes, students who receive Reading Corps tend to do better than students who didn't. And what's exciting for us is that we see these outcomes every year in our sort of annual evaluation data. And we see them across grades. We also see it across gender, ethnicity, English learner status. We see these effects across these categories. And we can look at geographic regions as well. So within the state of Minnesota, we look at rural areas or sort of larger like areas like St. Cloud or Rochester, but also the urban areas in Minneapolis and St. Paul, where a large percentage of the students who are meeting proficiency by third grade were served by Reading Corps. And we look at states where we're expanding into where large percentages of students are exceeding benchmark growth, which is important because these students are starting here and you can kind of visually see they need to exceed expected rates of growth in order to catch up to their peers. And also just noting that these outcomes I mentioned earlier, they matter for the individuals, but they matter for schools, they matter for states, and they matter for the nation in terms of, and they have real fiscal value, and reading has a monetary benefit. So the last thing I want to talk about is related to our, again, I'm in research, so we have a research and development crew that's really tasked with something that I think, I'm willing to bet that a lot of us grapple with, which is you design a program, you find out it's effective, and then you say, now what? Well, under what conditions is it most effective, and where? And also thinking about, well, how can we get better? How can we continue to innovate? Because you can't just continue to exist the way you are. Always thinking about getting better. So we look at adding programs related to vocabulary. We look at areas that are in areas of concentrated poverty and say, well, can we do something different in these schools? And again, all of this really toward the end of just trying to figure out a little bit more about the program and figuring out ways to improve both the efficiency and the effectiveness. So that's it. I had a really great time so far hearing about all the programs. I'm excited to hear about some of our colleagues in tutoring. And thank you very much.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.